Welcome, everybody, to Momo, Nomo, the home of the happy apostate. I'm with Gene Judson from Latter Daily Digest, and we are happy to be coming to you from beautiful Spokane, Washington. And Gene Judson's coming to you from Bangkok, Thailand right now. How about that? That's long distance podcasting is what that is. Gene, what did you want to talk about today?
So I happened on a group called Mormon Stories Norway when I was going through some pages on Facebook, and I thought that's interesting. Are they doing a community, or is somebody actually podcasting in Norway and doing Mormon stories? And so I quickly found out that they have a community, and that made me think about community and how
interesting how their community made you think about community.
Yeah, that's how my brain works. I also thought about fjords and icebergs, but I don't know how to do a show on those two topics, really. I only barely know how to say fjord, and I only know that icebergs are bad when you're in a boat. Especially a big one like a Titanic.
Yeah. I'm impressed that there's a Norwegian Mormon Stories community. I don't know why there wouldn't be, but it's just something that I don't think right off the bat is, different countries have the same type of communities that we have. And I'll tell you, Gene, They are so important to me. That's what really led me to find the truth about the LDS Church, was delving into some of these communities and reading what people had to say. And since I've left the church, I have not missed the community I had with the church at all, because this community, this post-Mormon community, is way more of a loving, accepting, sharing community than I ever saw in the church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, soon to be, I'm sure, the Church of Jesus Christ. What was one of the things that appealed to you most in this Mormon Stories Norway community, Gene?
So it made me think that the community of Mormon Stories podcast community, and it reminded me of Hans Matson and his wife, Birgitta, but probably was Hans at the time. He had his own sort of Mormon Stories community. They were listening to John DeLynn about 15 years ago, and they were discovering new things. And at the time, John was sort of presenting as a faithful, attending churchgoer who was just sharing real history, because he had been connected with Sunstone and other avenues of history. When I grew up, if something was information that didn't toe the line of what the church was saying, it was automatically an anti-Mormon lie. And It turns out that about 90% of the things in my youth that I thought were anti-Mormon lies were just history. So Hans and his group would meet often, talk about things, and Hans got a chance to sit next to, I believe it was Elder Ballard, and he on an airplane, and Elder Ballard patted his briefcase and said, "In my briefcase is a manuscript that's going to answer all the questions." And we believe that manuscript was the beginning of the Saints series books. And it answers maybe 40% of the questions, but it just presents some of the problems and doesn't really answer them, but does have a faithful spin on some things. And so anyhow, Hans eventually left the church because he felt he couldn't have integrity and stay. He couldn't be no honest history and still stay as a member. And soon thereafter, his wife, Brigitte, joined him. But anyhow, so I started contacting the person who was involved in the Mormon Stories Norway page, and she told me a bit about her history, and I think maybe I'm hoping that she'll come on the show and give her own story. But I'll just say that she was fourth generation Mormon in Norway, which is very unique, very rare, because most of the converts from the 1800s migrated to Utah, right? So not a lot of members stayed in their home countries. There was lots of influx of Danish, Norwegians, Swedish, and people from the UK. Not very many French Mormons, not very many Spanish Mormons, not very many Italian Mormons immigrated. I don't know if the work didn't play very well in those countries, but maybe they didn't have the Book of Mormon translated or anything yet in those languages.
I sincerely doubt that there were any Spanish. It was only in the early 1970s where they actually gained their freedom of religion. So yeah, probably no Spaniards.
Right. So because I connected with the person running this Mormon Stories Norway, and it's a small group, and so I thought I could help promote their group and promote the idea. But like I say, she didn't really want to come on the show, but she has posted her story on other sites. But now I'm really in love with their show because they posted a short from Latter Daily Digest, and that's always a good sign.
Oh, I thought maybe these were most wanted criminals in Norway. When I saw your face.
The Norwegian post office.
Then I saw your face. Now I'm a believer. Very cool. I understand they have birds in Thailand.
Yeah, so if you can hear birds and other noises, things are happening. It's early in the morning and people are starting their day and the birds are welcoming the morning.
I love it. I wish we had birds in the background of every podcast we did. Seriously, yeah. I love that sound.
Maybe since you work for Disney, you can get the Tiki Room soundtrack and play it low in the background.
I despise that soundtrack because I've heard it way too much. But what did you learn? What did you learn in this community, Gene? Anything? Is there any differences?
No, it's just the power of Mormon stories, really. And most podcasters right now can owe it to John DeLynn for paving the way, for being a pioneer in YouTubing and podcasting and creating a market, basically, for Ex-Mormon podcasts. And Latter Daily Digest was formed to promote other podcasts that were popping up. And we've done our share. Sure. And we're if anybody's out there that wants to, if you're aware of a podcast that you think should be interviewed, send us a note and we will try to get in contact with them and show them.
I'm so grateful that the podcasting community became so prolific because, as I departed from the church about 6-7 years ago completely, it was because I could see so many different Mormon stories, and I learned the church history as it really happened, not the indoctrination that the church wants to put every child through. I was born into it. I was born into this. I'm just going to say it. In my humble opinion, I think that the church has a lot of the same attributes that a cult has, where when you're born into it, you don't even realize that what you're doing is somewhat singular, strange. And, I just was reading an article this morning about the new garments, which I'm going to show you here in a sec. But I thought about how crazy was I to wear the LDS garments for the decades that I did, never thinking that that was strange. It's just how I was raised, how I was indoctrinated. And so it was normal. I lived in a little town, not a little town, actually it's pretty big now, called Mesa, Arizona. It's like a little Salt Lake. All my friends were in the church. My family was all in the church. So I just checked off the different boxes, went on my mission, came back, got married right away, did all the things. And now I'm looking back thinking, what the hell was I thinking? But I didn't know any better. So thank heavens for John Dehlin and some of these that were pioneers in the field. It's been such a boon to me, and I'm very grateful for them.
I'm going to try to do a show on the early days of podcasting someday soon.
That would probably be a good idea. Yeah. I just wanted to share, this community had a great impact on me as I was entering into the realm of post-Mormon. John Dehlin, and you notice the top of his head is cut off because he's just that tall. You can't get his whole head and get everyone else's whole face. So a lot of his pictures are cut off. But, he's got stories that were very enlightening for me, helped me realize, hey, here's who Joseph Smith really was. I had no clue. I had no idea. Here's what the history of the people coming over to Utah passed through. I had no clue. I'm gonna just scroll down here a little. The very first story, in fact, contributed by someone named Sarah Davis, talking about the incredible lines at Deseret Book and at the distribution centers all over the state of Utah because the new garments came out, the garments that allowed people to actually show a little bit of their shoulders. Women are going nuts, going crazy for it. Maybe the men too, but they're not made for men. But I'm amazed that these lines are so long to get a pair of garments that allows them to show a little bit of their shoulder. I guess God let up a little bit on his strict mandates, huh?
Yeah, but that shows you like the community, people can share what's happening right now in real time, news on Mormonism all around the world.
Yeah.
Just one example.
Yeah, this is just one example of many showing, what's going on. We have several Mormon news broadcasts that cast the news out there of what's going on in the LDS Church. Some of it good, some of it not so good, some of it horrible. But it keeps us informed. When people have asked me, Gene, why do you continue to care so much about what's going on in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? The answer is I devoted over 50 years of my life to that. And so, yeah, it's a big part of my history and a big part of what constitutes my whole personality. That's changing, thank heavens. But yeah, the church is still a big part of my life because I have so many friends that are still in the church and all of my family still in the church. So of course I'm going to keep tabs on what's going on. And if one day they ever ask me why I'm not active anymore, why I'm not participating in church anymore, I'll be happy to tell them. But until then, I just kind of have to go along and wait for them to ask questions because my goal, my mission is not to pull people away from the church. It is to help people who are on the edge or who are thinking about leaving the church and afraid to give up that community. I can say, oh, listen, don't worry about that, because we've got a much bigger and better community than you'll feel in your home ward.
Yeah, we're fine with people staying in the church. It's really okay. But what happens is people who are in the church don't understand why people leave. It's because they don't realize the wealth of information that's out there. And we grew up hearing about free agency. Now and that goes with nowadays informed consent. When we deal in medical services, we have informed consent. And when we deal in real estate, we have full disclosure. Those things enable people to make wise decisions. For medicine or some sort of healthcare treatment, once you know all the risks, you can make an informed choice on whether you want to proceed with the operation or take the medicine or decline those services. And so Randy and I are now declining the services of the church, right? And so anyhow, Latter Daily Digest and Randy's channel, Momo Nomo, help put information out there. And when we interview creators, the creators set an example. They're people that are thinking for themselves and are putting themselves out there and showing, bravery often. And so we just want to highlight those things. But today's show about community groups allows people who are, like Randy talked about, are on the edge and wondering about things. Where should they go? What should they do? These other support groups allow people to get more information or to ask questions in the community of people, or to just express their emotions, right? They could either, and it's okay to express happy emotions. If something happened that you are in favor of in the church, like a lot of people were poor and they might have received financial aid or food services and or Christmas gifts. I know a lot of people experience that. That's great. And a lot of people love their missions. They loved serving people. They loved teaching. They loved exploring and growing and learning another language and dedicating themselves to a higher cause. And they still appreciate all those things. But some people may have chosen to not go on a mission, had known all the things. Like Randy, you talk about a lot of times that you had to lie to people a little bit about some things in your mission. You remember a couple of things that you'd say you lied about, but you didn't know you were lying?
Yeah, I was going to say it was nothing intentional, but some of the things I taught were that the priesthood and temple blessings were withheld from the people of color because they were fence sitters in the pre-existence, and they bore the mark of Cain. God cursed them with the mark. And even in the Book of Mormon, we hear that the Lamanites, or the American Indians as we know them now, were cursed with a mark of darker skin so that they wouldn't be attractive to the white and delightsome people. And that's one of the most racist teachings I've ever heard in my life, in or out of the church. And it disgusts me that I actually had to tell people these things. I also had to tell them that the only way that they could be with their loved ones and family for all eternity is to give up alcohol, coffee, tobacco, pay their full tithing, and have a temple recommend. And then they'll be worthy to live with their family forever. And that, in my opinion, is why the church is so wealthy. They have this shtick, and it is, oh, you want to live with your family forever? Pay up. Give us money, and we'll see to it that you live with them forever. In my opinion, that's horrible that people are being loyal and faithful to the church simply so they can be with their family forever.
That's right. And so there are some groups that if you're angry, you can join those groups, and they can fulfill your desire for knowing about the angry type of news. And there are other groups that are like this, Nice Ex-Mormons. And they have this little posting that says, "I'm sorry for what I said when I was Mormon." And you just, Randy, alluded to that right now.
Yeah.
And so that's a group. Randy, if you want to find another group and share it pretty soon, I'll talk about how Nice Ex-Mormons tries to make the conversation, palatable, friendly, more kind leaning, less angry, and more of a uplifting kind of a thing. And I'm going to share another group that's uplifting in a little bit after I am done with this one. So I can remove this one from the stage now. And when you're ready to pop yours on, you can do that.
Okay. This is also from the same story. So this is very right up to date. As of, I believe this was this morning. Let me play this for you.
Okay, in honor of the new LDS garments, which came out today, for which I have been waiting in line since 7 a.m. trying to get, I want to say that the other day I was on TikTok and I was looking at this FLDS girl, this ex-FLDS girl, and she was doing the hairstyle that they require them to wear. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is not very cute. And how bizarre and controlling is it that they make you wear your hair a certain way on your wedding day? And then I realized that this is what I was wearing on my wedding day. So no matter what they tell you, LDS and FLDS are really not that far apart.
Well, there you go. So yeah, I think that's interesting. At least this member of the church realized that, wait a minute, we're laughing at the way the polygamous groups insist that the women wear their hair. And then she showed us a picture of what she's required to wear if she's married in the temple, and I thought that was really open-minded of her to point that out, that while she is not ex-Mormon, she shared that with the ex-Mormon community. I like that.
Yeah, and so that reminds me of another group, Mormon Enlightenment. So that lady was enlightened, and that's what we're going for, right? It's, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. It is a scripture, and that still applies even as you become ex-Mo.
Right. Yeah. I think that outside of religion, that still holds very true. The truth will set you free. Here's a video that I thought might be fun.
Halloween is a very important holiday for us Mormons, so today I'm going to be going to Spirit Halloween. I'm going to be looking for a Halloween costume for this Halloween. This costume is going to have to be good for church and for fun. Some say Mormonism is a demonic religion. That is true at least one day out of the year. Zombies are important to us because they are a symbol of the resurrection, which is when we will all come back to life. The author of Twilight was a Mormon, so werewolves are a very important animal for us. I think I might be able to wear these with the new garments. Mormons love getting married! This is a good biblical reference to Joseph's story in Egypt, and this is Potiphar's wife. I will not be her for Halloween. The Catholics are really dominating the religion aisle. Unfortunately, if you want to be a Mormon missionary, those are sold out. This is an example of an inappropriate Halloween costume that I would not wear as a Mormon. This would be inappropriate for a church party or anything ever. If I wore this as a kid, my young women's leader would ask me to change. Joseph Smith famously used a hat to translate the Book of Mormon. For all we know, Joseph Smith might have translated out of this. Harry Potter is a very important movie for us. Upside down pineapple is also a popular Mormon Halloween costume. Mormons love Disney because we love the patriarchy. Ouija boards are very important to Mormons. Joseph Smith used an Ouija board to translate the Book of Mormon. Wait, South Park. I love South Park. Joseph Smith was in South Park. I haven't seen any other episodes than the Joseph Smith one. South Park Joseph Smith would have been cool, but it looks like they're sold out of that one. I saw a lot of great options today, but I think I'm gonna settle on Gold Pimp because it reminds me of the Angel Moroni, who is on top of all of our temples. And here we have the trumpet of the Angel Moroni, and yeah, I think this will be a really good tribute to the temple. Happy Halloween!
There you go. I never knew so many Halloween costumes were Mormon themed.
Right. I think she might be a little bit sarcastic about that. I'm sure that this is a parody, but I thought it was funny how she was. And you know what? This is actually true to life. So many Mormons will justify what they want and come up with a narrative of why it's okay and appropriate. So I think she was teaching an important lesson without maybe even knowing it. But
yep, explaining away things is, you know, what do you call it? Mental gymnastics. You get stronger and stronger in your brain by being able to explain away things that nobody else can understand.
I love how she picked up the Ouija board and said, Ouija boards are important in the Mormon Church.
Do you know the reference to that?
Well, I know that Ouija boards are a way that many people believe you can communicate with the spirits. So, and I do know that Mormons' history is deeply submerged in the occult.
So the CES letter came out 12 years ago online, and then about 10 years ago in print. And in that, Jeremy Reynolds talks about how it would be like using a Ouija board. And so apologists took Jeremy Reynolds' words of like using a Ouija board to saying, he's saying that Joseph Smith used the Ouija boards, and Ouija boards weren't even invented until 1850. So he couldn't have used a Ouija board. And
of
so
course
that's
they came
sort
up
of that
with
reference,
that.
in my opinion, why that came out.
Well, that sounds very legit.
So
yeah.
I'll share one more. And we're just going to say to everybody, look up in Facebook a Mormon or ex-Mormon groups and find something that fits your style, and join in the conversation if you feel the spirit, if you feel the urge to do so. And so this is Ex-Mormons 2.0, Outer Darkest and Loving It. And so that's kind of a little bit snarky. Momo Nomo has a little devil on his shoulder. And so that's a similar type of thing. And so,
yeah, I don't remember what I was going to say. Never mind. So Gene, what would be best for someone to Google to find these groups? Did you mention maybe Google Ex-Mormon or look in Facebook or
in a Facebook search, because you could find these things in a Google search as well, but they'll be filtered with a whole bunch of other websites and other pages of information, and it'll be scattered, right? Yeah, here's a similar sort of snarky, and it's a little bit different, right? It's talking about atheism and agnosticism as it relating to ex-Mormons. Some people leave the church just because it doesn't work for them, because they had a bad experience, and other people stop believing in God. And so this group is more like those that want to talk about things rationally and atheistically, we'll say.
Yeah, I hope that people don't think that this is all making fun of the LDS Church. Actually, that's not what it's about. It is about bringing forward truths that many LDS people aren't even aware of, because it's never taught in the church. It's like the true history of the church. It's a whole different story now than it was when Gene and I were kids. because they've had to come forward with some things that they didn't want people to know about because of the internet. Jeremy Reynolds is a good example of pointing so many of these things out. And it was the CES letter that really got me started. I'm thinking, can this possibly be true, what he's writing in this letter? And investigations reveal that it sure as heck is true. And so, if you're members of the church, don't just shun any of this stuff away. If you're a true believing member of the church, then it's certainly not going to hurt you to take a look and see what's being said. Maybe learn a little bit about a little more about your church. It's like a chef. A chef may have a dish that he loves, and everyone loves it. But it's possible that there might be some additions to the recipe or subtractions that make it even a little bit better. So a true chef, is not closed-minded. They're always willing to try and experiment and see if they really do have the best recipe. And if they do, all power to them.
Yeah, and you mentioned the CES letter, and Jeremy Reynolds actually used Reddit, and that's another community that you can join if you haven't heard of Reddit. You can look up either Mormon, Ex-Mormon Reddit, Mormon Reddit, and those threads will give you discussion, right, and community. And some people are cutthroat and some people are friendly, and you just have to not care too much about the people that are too bitter or whatever to have a good discussion.
Separate the wheat from the tares, huh?
Yeah. Like, it's like swear words in a movie. Some people don't like it so much that they cringe and they want to leave the theater, and I realize that that's just what happens sometimes. Sometimes people in the world use swear words. They're just words, right? You could be just as angry and not use swear words as you can, and you could be friendly and use swear words, right? The words aren't the issue. It's the attitude of the person. And so you can hear people's attitudes. You can scroll through people's messages that you don't want to hear, and you can contribute to people's conversations that, you can feel comfortable with. And so that's our show. Just extreme community.
I just wanted to say, I don't know about you, Gene, but when I'm really mad, sometimes it feels really good to swear. Or when I'm describing something, sometimes just the cleanest language doesn't quite get a true picture of what I'm trying to say.
That's right.
I never scored.
Damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a linguist.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so these, and people, if you're watching and you have other favorite communities, post them in the comments below. And, if we're premiering this show and you want to comment in the chat about your favorite groups that you are belonging to, those are good avenues. We have our own little community in the chat. People love to say hi to each other when we do a show. And sometimes they don't even care what we're talking about. They just say hi to each other in the chat. And some people talk about how they just had an operation or just getting over being sick, or a dog has died or something. And so people say sorry. And that's community as well, right? And so there's community and chat all around the podcast world.
Exactly. We do 2 live podcasts. One of them is called Tuesdays with Tim, where we meet in Tim Rathbone's virtual living room. Gene and I and Megan Connor and Trevor Larson, and we've got a whole host of guests that pop in. And the chat that goes along with this live people make comments. It's almost like going into a room and visiting with everybody. They're glad to see people coming out and being part of the audience, and they may not have met them or ever will meet them, but it's like they know each other based on this chat. We do another live podcast, Jane, Megan Connor, and I, and it's called the Salt Lake Expositor, and it's a call-in / jump-in show where people can come in and offer their opinions on what we're talking about. That one's a little bit more serious because we deal with news in the church, what's going on, and if it's something bad, what can we do to help stop what's happening? But whatever.
I really enjoy the Salt Lake Expositor because other newscasts are showing the news, and we give people a chance and our own selves a chance to ruminate and discuss and express our feelings. And so we're trying to democratize the news a little bit by having the Salt Lake Expositor on Sundays. So thanks, Randy.
Exactly. Thank you, Gene. We appreciate all of you who are watching this right now, and I would encourage you it'll help both Gene and I if you'll just like it and share it with anyone that you think might have an interest in it. We'll have Momo Nomo's address and Latter Daily Digest's address down below. And we'd love it if you'd share and like and subscribe.
All righty. Everyone have a great rest of the year. Bye-bye.
And happy Halloween, by the way.